You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
You're listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. In today's episode, I interview school counselor and impact member Sonya. Sonya is so great to talk to. She absolutely loves her job, and you can totally hear it in her interview. She shares strategies for small groups, including how to teach short-term skill building to help students get back to class and ready to learn. I loved hearing about Sonya's background and her strategies for working in small groups, and it was just a great episode I think you're going to love. All right, let's go to the show. Let's play a little game of Would You Rather, School Counselor Edition. Okay, would you rather spend your weekend planning a group or spend your afternoon sitting in irrelevant PD? Yikes. Or would you rather be the only counselor with no one to collaborate with, or to spend hours searching online for engaging activities? All of these options are pretty bad, right? But unfortunately, they're all too real. But what if I told you I had a solution for you? What if I told you I had access to hundreds of school counseling lessons, groups, and activities, counselor-specific trainings on the topics you need most, and a community of like-minded school counselors to support you? You would say, yes, please. Well, that is what Impact is all about. Impact is my monthly membership for school counselors, and it helps you with all of these things. You get access to hundreds of resources. That's unlimited free downloads. Log in and get what you need right away to every single resource that's in my store. We add new resources each and every month. We're adding a new middle school and elementary resource each month, and some of these are bonus Impact exclusives, meaning that you can get resources just for members. You can request resources that you need and easily search so you can find exactly what you're looking for. And let's talk about the trainings, counselor-specific trainings on the topics you need most. We do these each and every month as part of our Coffee with the Counselor series. Impact members get to join for absolutely free. You earn PD certificates, and you get exclusive access to members-only things like the Ultimate Small Group Experience and our Summer Summit Conference. And the community. Y'all, this is possibly my favorite part of Impact. I so look forward to jumping on these calls, to getting to know counselors who are similar to me and also completely different. It's so fun to hear from your experiences and your challenges, and everyone brings a unique perspective to the table. We have an exclusive online community, and we even have a cool app where you can chat with other counselors in these community circles. We have our monthly calls, like I mentioned, twice a month, and we share wins, troubleshoot tough cases, and just talk about what it's like to be a counselor, because so often we're on our own island at our school sites. So if any of that sounds like it's for you, I would love to see you inside Impact. Go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/impact to solve all of your counselor problems. And I have a special offer for my listeners. Use code POD at checkout to save 10% off your first month. Okay, let's go to today's episode. Hi, Sonya. How are you today?
I am living the dream, as I like to say every single day. How are you?
I love that attitude. I'm great, living the dream as well, I feel like. So I love that. I'm peeping your office in the background, and it's super cute.
Thank you. It's a constant work in progress.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and your background in education.
Yeah, so I have been a school counselor for 2 years. This is my second year in the field. Last year I was in a different district and a different school, and I got cut, and that was actually a huge blessing in disguise for me, because it was hard. There weren't a lot of supports, and as a first year counselor, it was difficult. But this year is going really well. I love it here because the teachers are amazing. And it turns out that when you have a building full of strong adults, then everything else just kind of comes into place.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah, the kids can almost sense the chaos, right? Like if the adults don't have it together.
Totally. I mean, they feed off of our energy. So if we're dysregulated, they're dysregulated. We can't get them to regulate if we're dysregulated.
Mm-hmm. And what were you doing before school counseling? I know you have an
I was an EA. I was a one-on-one for students with autism. And before that, I did a one-on-one Montessori preschool. I was an assistant and just kind of nannying and doing little random side gigs here and there.
That's exciting. So those things probably have brought in a lot of perspective and just like experiences, right? I'm sure the autism experience comes in handy. I know as a counselor, I was working with a lot of students on the spectrum, and the Montessori piece is interesting as well.
Totally. I mean, I grew up going to Montessori school in elementary and middle school, and I just really love the philosophy. So I tried to kind of take that with me. And as far as working with kids with autism, that totally also helped just kind of shift my perspective on less is more.
Mhm.
The less words we use sometimes, that that can go a really long way. So definitely those two experiences shaped me.
Yeah, I love the less is more thing. I'm reading a book right now, like a parenting book called Hunt, Gather, Parent, and it's about like learning from hunter gatherer, like indigenous cultures. But one thing she says is that all of these cultures use like way less words than we do in like Western society, and we're constantly like over explaining things to kids. And a lot of times it's too much for them to process. And I find that I do this with my own children. So I'm like, oh gosh, sometimes we're just, verbal spit up, just talking so much, and they're like, less is more.
Oh, I'm an over communicator. Like by default, I don't know how to filter. I just am constantly going 800 miles an hour and want to say everything that's on my mind. And yes, like you said, they can't even process, I've already lost them after 10 words.
Yeah.
So I try to remind people just 5 words if that's what we do.
Such a good reminder. Now tell us, what do you love about your job? What do you love about counseling?
Yes, the better question is what don't I love about it? I think the best part is seeing the impact that I make. If it's big or small, I'm not with students all day like teachers are. So a 10-minute or a 30-minute check-in can just go so far. And it's really rewarding, whether that be kids kind of reciting back to me what I taught in a lesson, or telling me, that I'm one of the few adults that they trust. It's so rewarding to see how, just a 10-minute little check-in goes such a long way.
hmm Definitely. And I know that you love small groups. So I want to kind of pick your brain there. What can you share with us about small groups? Like how do you run your groups? Any strategies for engagement? We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so I think we have to first accept that small groups are not going to like fix behaviors or just be an overnight, you know, fix, I guess. I think that the most important part about them is that you're able to serve so many more students. So on a daily basis, I would have on my caseload, I have about 300 students. And on a daily basis, half of them are asking for a check-in or need to talk about something. And if I can get as many small groups going, so right now I have about 7.
Oh, wow.
Um, and the goal would be 10 to 12, because then that just means I'm serving kind of all of those students who need that additional support on a really consistent weekly basis. So I think it's just a really good strategy of being able to reach all the students. And I will say last term, from October to December, it was a lot more chaotic because they wanted to kind of play and just have fun, and I want to do that too. And I've had to realize that I have to have boundaries, and school is for learning. As much as I want to be a therapist and do play therapy all day, um, we have to have boundaries because I want them to be in class. So if they're going to come to my room, I have to make sure it's a really effective 30, 40 minutes with real skill building. And sometimes yesterday I had a student, we've already had 3 sessions. We have 4 more. She's a 5th grader. She came and it's during lunch and recess. And she's like, I want to go play football. Can I just come in for lunch? And I was like, no, I need you here for lunch and recess because this is a commitment. We've talked about this because I have had to turn down a lot of other students in order for you to be here. So, you can't choose. You can choose to not come back, or you can be here for both. And she was like, I really want to just be here for lunch, but I want to be at recess. And I was like, that's fair, but that tells me that maybe you're not struggling with anxiety as much as we thought. This is a group for anxiety. And that's also like a great sign that you want to go and play out of recess, because these other 4 students want to be here because they need skills for anxiety. And so she opted out. She won't be rejoining the group, but it's like kind of a good thing, because now, she doesn't have as much anxiety as she might have thought.
Right. I think sometimes the kids, they're like so interested, like, what are they doing in these groups? What are they doing in counseling? Or someone might talk about a game they played or something. It's kind of like the downside of having it super engaging is sometimes kids are self-referring or like, acting out just so they can come see you. So I don't know. It is a fine line there for sure.
I've had parents reach out to me this year saying, just so you know, like your groups are kind of sounding like a clique from my kid's perspective,
Mm.
and it sounds like a cool group. And I've kind of pushed back a little bit and said, oh, okay, like, well, your 9-year-old child has very valid and real feelings. And I can assure you that the students that are in my clique or small group have severe anxiety. If your student has severe anxiety that I just don't know about, I would love to have them. They just haven't been referred by you, themselves, or their teacher. Because then, yes, there were quite a few students who got upset because they felt left out. And, I've also explained to them, like, we're not sitting here just kind of chit chatting as much as we'd like.
Right.
I'm being firmer. I'm not Miss Sonya, the nice one anymore. Like I used to be way more loose, relaxed with
Yeah.
boundaries, but you get taken advantage of. So
Yeah.
I would teach them boundaries.
Yes, and I think that's so important. Why it's important to have a plan. Like, okay, we're going to meet for this many weeks. We're going to, have pre and post test. We have an outline. We have some data to measure, and you can communicate that with parents. Like, this isn't just like a fun kindness club or whatever. This is like a, skill building, like you said. Students are referred. There's a process to follow. If you think your child's a good fit, you can refer them, and then we'll follow the process. But that the same thing happened to me. It was actually I was doing a fifth grade relational aggression group, and all the students that were in the group were having friendship issues with a child that wasn't in the group. So then they would all kind of like talk about her in the group during feelings check and stuff, and I would listen. I wouldn't like cut them off, but I guess somehow the student found out her parents were like, it's just a group like talking bad about my daughter. They thought we were like just having a whole little group against her. It was messy for sure. So things like that can definitely happen. Parents get involved. So I think that's why it's so important to feel confident and prepared, knowing that you have like a, research-based plan and you're not just chatting with kids or whatever.
Right. And I've also, switched the strategy of doing it during lunch and recess as
Mhm.
opposed to during academic time. I mean, for the kids who, because some kids have opted out not to do it during lunch and recess because they're sad about missing recess. And those are some of the kids that could
Need it.
really, really
Yeah.
benefit from it. And so after spring break, I'll probably have to be really strategic about some academic windows to try to get those kids to participate, because we can't really reach academics if we're not meeting our basic needs. It's not realistic.
100%. No, I love that. And I was going to suggest that too, because it's so hard I mean, I always feel bad taking them out of their recess or their lunch, and you want to make it fun and engaging, but at the same time, it's like, oh man, that's like their one break. But it can also be really hard to get teacher buy-in, which again is another good reason to have that data and show, or like you just said, hierarchy of needs. Like we can't be successful in school until we're successful here. And like you
Right.
mentioned, it's like a short-term solution focused, get you back to the classroom.
And thankfully, I'm so grateful again for the teachers that are in this building, because I haven't had a lot of pushback about
Hmm.
during academic time, because everyone that I work with here is on the same page of, SEL is just as important, if not as important as academic time. It's just also kids are so happy to miss school time as well, academic.
Right, yeah. True.
And it's been a journey and a lesson in trying to just not have them as dependent on a counselor as much as they want or need to, because as good as it feels for my ego, maybe,
Hmm.
as good as it feels for the kids, like it's just not realistic because I'm only here 5 days a week. We're not going to be here forever. So
Right.
I need to teach you how to be independent.
I love that. Yes, those skills they can use independently. So yeah, sounds like you're doing amazing work in your groups. I'm so impressed by how many you have. And I agree. I love groups because I have counselors all the time who come to me and be like, I don't have time for class lessons or groups because I just have so many one-on-one students. And I'm like, no, no, no. Group your
Mhm.
one-on-one students. Like unless it's a super severe need or something very unique, I'm sure there's some students who have similar needs. And then the groups are just so great for the kids. So I
And
agree.
we're not this. And I also like recognize that a lot of buildings don't have the support staff to needed to respond to behaviors. So I
Mhm.
recognize see that a lot of counselors have to respond to those behaviors. But it's crazy. In grad school on the first day, they basically said like the first thing I remember them saying is you decide what your role is. Like you get to choose what your job is. And I was like, I don't, what do you mean? I don't get to choose what my job is, either my
Yeah,
principal, the district. And it is so true.
right.
Like maybe a little bit of, you know, some micromanaging here and there, like you have to do this and this, but like you kind of choose your own boundaries. And
Hmm.
I did not understand that until I was in it. So, you know, they're not going to fire me for saying like, hey, I'm not going to respond to behavior for 2 hours because I'm going to be doing this.
Right. Right. No, that's great. Great on you for advocating. So let's talk about logistics. So for scheduling, because it sounds like there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of groups. Do you have any tips for, I mean, it sounds like your teachers are really supportive regarding buy-in, but what about scheduling, finding a time that works for everybody? Any strategy?
Yeah, that's really hard. It's definitely a lot of looking at the schedule and like what can the kids definitely not miss, which for us it's reading. That's really important in the building. But I kind of leave it up to the teachers, like what would you prefer? And then I take all of the teachers, there's about 3 to 4 per grade level, and then I look at everyone's responses. I do a Google survey, and last term I was doing it during academic time. This term I'm doing it during lunch and recess. So I really try to work with the teacher because if there's no buy-in from the teacher, then you know I, we're not. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I love that. I love to use like a Google survey as well just to see and then hopefully you can please, 90% of people on the
Yeah,
times. What does a day in the life look like for you?
yeah. I am really lucky this year because our building, my third, fourth, and fifth grade students are doing amazing this year, and our kinders and first graders need a lot of support. So I have been able to do a lot of counseling stuff, whether that be a small group, 30-minute lesson, crisis support, restorative conversations. I love to do behind the scenes work personally. I really love a good 30-minute, 1 hour phone call with parents about, um, you know, collaborating with them about why 504 is good or why an IEP is good. And just sometimes the intervention I've noticed is venting and listening. Um, I know that there are a lot of angry parents out there and a lot of strong advocates. And if we find the time to let them vent and we listen to them, that's usually enough. So I really try to hone in on that. I do a weekly news video with fifth graders. We do a lot of meetings, attendance meetings, tier 2 meetings. And also just trying to occasionally go into the classroom to just kind of sit around and maybe work on my computer in the classroom so I can really try to understand the academic setting more because I definitely do not. I mean, I didn't become a school counselor to do academics. So,
Right. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, and then you can also see behaviors in the
correct.
classroom instead of just having them sent to your office. You can see behaviors in action. You can see kids practicing their skills in action. If these are kids that you meet with, are they
Right.
using it in real life? So that's a great idea. I love that. What advice would you give to a new school counselor?
Yeah, you can't do it all. You can always try to do all of it, but you will always have a million things to do on your to-do list. And I also think it's just really, really important to remember what our role is and what students' roles are in school. You know, students come here to learn. And school counselors are not therapists. Thankfully, we have an in-base therapist. A lot of schools don't, which is why we have to figure out a way to get them referrals for outside therapy. But, we're here for short-term skill building to teach student strategies. And it shouldn't be therapy. I'll never be able to get to the root of it as much as I'd like to whatever is causing a lot of pain, or maybe occasionally there's exceptions, but we are, we're juggling 30 plates at once. So we have to figure out what our specific role is and making it really clear to adults in the building.
Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, that's a great reminder. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sonya. This has been great chatting with you. I loved learning about your school and your role. It sounds like you're a really passionate counselor, and your kiddos are lucky to have you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your curriculum and for Impact. I use it all the time, and the kids love it, and I love it. And I'm really grateful to you for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Yes, I'm so glad to hear Impact's helping you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, you too.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.